Does the Torah model of leadership agree with the Brit Hadashah's model? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah Day 2 of Yitro. Yesterday, as we concluded, we see that Yitro comes out of the tent with Moshe after having heard the witness and testimony of all that Yah had done for Am Israel, and he is rejoicing. Again, our model of following the Torah should be one that produces joy. Part of achieving joy in our walk is having community that is functionally correct, healthy, strong, and mutually encouraging and edifying. It is extremely frustrating to be a part of any group, or even if it's a congregation or 2 or 3 gathered in his name in a living room, whatever you have, when you edify and encourage each other, that's wonderful. When there is challenge, when there is divisive debate, when there is friction and variances of doctrinal understanding, that can be detrimental, and people began to find themselves in a situation of being dejected, depressed, rejected, cast aside, all of the negative things that we don't want in our community. What we're in desperate need of is effective leadership. Now, in chapter number 18, verse number 14, the scriptures version says this: "And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, 'What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening?'" So the word here that is significant in verse 14 is what you're doing for the people. The Orthodox Jewish Bible version, that's this ragtag version and what's left of it. If I were to pull it out of the bookcase here, I have to hold it with 2 hands very gingerly just to keep it from falling completely 100% apart. The Orthodox Jewish Bible says this: "When Yitro saw all that he, that is Moshe, did to the people." Moshe's intentions were to be admired. They were to be applauded. He wanted to be sure that right justice in all of the court-style cases that were brought before him was exacted. He wanted to make sure that truth prevailed and that people were rightly looked at and examined according to the word and the heart, the character of Yahweh. But this meant if Moshe took it on all by himself, then the entire nation had to stand in line day until night, waiting their turn. Moshe was worn out. The people were worn out. And I'm sure that there may have been those situations where people thought, why stand in line? Let's just kind of come to blows among ourselves, work it out among ourselves, do what we have to do. But nobody wants to stand in this torturous line. Yitro, though he had been for the better part of his life indulged in paganistic pursuits of gods and their idolatries, he nevertheless had wisdom concerning organization and understanding of how to properly delegate authority. The world has some mechanics and methodologies that you and I can employ and be benefited by doing so. So Moshe listens to his father-in-law's advice and understands that there needs to be raised up men in the midst of them who can assist him with the smaller cases. And if they become bigger cases, then they can come up a line of command until ultimately the hardest cases will be brought before Moshe for him to decide. This does a couple of things. One, it liberates the people from standing in long lines with a small expectancy of getting their case heard. Secondly, it involves more people at varying levels according to their skill and to their wisdom. This delegation raises up leadership, trains perhaps younger men how to judge effectively, and then become more useful as they gain in wisdom and gain in understanding. Experience is a wonderful teacher, but you have to have experience in order for it to benefit you. And there's only one way to get experience. You got to experience it. There is something here that we need to ask. I don't see that Moshe raised up apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. Yet when we go into the Word, again, let's read from the Orthodox Jewish Bible. In Ephesians chapter number 4, we read in verse 11, "And he gave some to be shlichim," that is, sent ones, "and some nevaim," prophets, "and some gifted to be used in keruv," that is, nearby, or to bring near those who are far off and by their efforts for the Messiah. That would be the evangelists, those that are able to be used in some form of exhortation or ministry, both to those that are near or having the capacity to go find those that are far off. That is, those perhaps in exile, those perhaps that are unaware of who they are, and allow them to become aware that you are a part of the scattered house of Israel, and allow them now to be brought near by the message of redemption through Yeshua. Continuing, and he said, some supervising mashgikim, I would think, that is spiritual overseers, shepherds, who are roim, who are shepherds, and then also who are morim, who are teachers in the kehillah, that is the assembly or the congregation. The overall working purpose for any and all of these offices is the same goal, for the equipping of the kadashim, that is the set-apart ones, for the work of Avodas Kodesh ministry, the set-apart ministry and service, to the building up of the Haguf of HaMashiach, the congregation, the entirety of the people, this assembly. And continuing, that we would grow until we come to a place of unity. Now, back in pastoral days, some decades ago now, the continuing cry was, this church needs to have unity. What we interpreted as unity in those days, more often than not, was uniformity. That is, everyone agreeing to look the same, act the same, speak the same, believe the same, and do the same. Now we understand that there are varieties in the midst of us. Not everyone comes from the same ethnic background with the same culture and language and past experience. Most congregations, to some degree these days, are some version of a melting pot, where a variety of life experiences congregate together, and the different angles that we all have benefit one another, open our eyes, open our hearts, open our opportunities for compassion to one another. But these gifts are there to oversee these operations of personalities and congregational matters, whether it's the local assembly. Again, it can be a group, 10, 20, 40, 50. It could be one or two in a living room. It could be an individual who's just looking for a place to connect on occasion. However we congregate, virtually and online, or whether in reality and in the flesh at a local spot, we need to know how to relate together. We need shepherds. We vitally need shepherds in our day. We have an overwhelming number of teachers. Teachers are everywhere. But we need shepherds, people who will sit down with a person and systematically help them to grow and to learn, teach them to pray, teach them to study, teach them to search out the answers to their questions, and to make right application to their lives. Pray with me that the Father will do what he said in Jeremiah and then also Zechariah, that he would raise up shepherds for us in the last days. May it be so. Until tomorrow, shalom.